Hello, I'm Katrina M. Craft, and you've just tuned into the Craft More Cash podcast, where finance meets innovation and strategy becomes reality. With over 2 decades navigating the twists and turns of accounting, tax, and business strategy, I've had the incredible opportunity to work with startups and Fortune 500 companies alike, crafting pathways for businesses to grow and thrive. I've tailored my expertise to serve the unique needs of industries ranging from real estate to creators to marketing and beyond. I'm on a mission to equip individuals with the financial savvy they need to succeed. Through my Wealth Intelligence course, I'm all about breaking down complex concepts into actionable strategies for business owners. So buckle up and let's dive into the world of financial success, innovative strategies, and the stories that make us all want to keep pushing forward. I really was able to make 6 figures really quick within 1 year working with the tax strategist and working with other business owners because I learned a lot just being under them. Although I had an accounting degree, we are not taught a lot of times about wealth. We're not taught about creation. So I knew about counting and taking the numbers, but not about wealth. I didn't learn about real estate in school. I didn't learn about investments in school. I didn't learn about crypto in school. Those are things that I didn't learn in a formal education. And I think that we're not taught a lot of that. So that is one thing that I love to share with others. So I did work with the tax strategist, and she was my largest client, like bringing in 80%, because how we worked is I would do a piece of the work, and I was on all of the tax strategies for the high net worth, and I would write them up and correspond with the clients to make sure everything was implemented. Well, everything changed. She decided she didn't want to do that job anymore, or she didn't want to provide those services anymore. So I'm looking like, oh, wow, that's 80% of my income. What am I to do? So at that point, I knew I had to get my financial house in order because I had just moved into a house. I had car notes. Everything was on me. I was single at the time, and I just kept spending. I kept feeling like I didn't want to change my lifestyle, and I just thought things would just change very rapidly, but it didn't. So it ended up making me I did it to myself. I ended up being in almost $100,000 worth of debt. So I knew I had to take that situation into my own hands. So I started doing a detailed budget at the beginning and end of every month. I stopped spending money, period. And that was very hard because it taught me some lessons that I really hadn't learned as an accountant. So I was kind of like, oh, wow, how could I not know this? Just about money, finances, and self-control. So one of the biggest takeaways is dealing with debt and coming back stronger was the concept of saving. Just to save and what happens is then I use that savings to invest in other things like the real estate or investing in the stock market. So I knew that just saving, say, in an investment account and getting less than 1% was not the way. But I knew that if I were to save, then there would be other opportunities that I would be able to invest in. So I do want to just mention that once you start saving and you know that you want to do it for a particular reason, you have 30,000, 50,000, 100,000. That doesn't mean that you've arrived and it's time to buy that G-Wagon. So don't spend all the money, and that 30,000, 50,000, 100 is not really a lot when you look at the business world and what you need to really grow your business and maintain your business. If you wanted to get in real estate, you have to put down sometimes 20% down for rental properties. Luckily, when I started, that's when the time of the no doc loans, or I had to put 5% down, but now it's really changed. So you have to have savings, or you have to bring in partners. Some of my mentors have told me, if you find a great deal, you'll find the money. So that's another consideration, but you have to know how to find the deals if you're looking at real estate, and
be able to work with the partner. So we talked about that could be a form of income. You could be lending the money. I have a client that lends money to investors. So that's his form of passive income. He's not holding the property, but he's making money by lending to other people that do want to purchase. That's another form of millionaire stream of money. So just keep saving, invest until you have 6 months of business and personal expenses saved in cash. That's my rule that I like to give people. Saving for me meant no restaurants at the time, only physical cash to spend on groceries, no vacations, no new electronics, and no couch. I had to work hard because I had to build up my clientele again. All of that allowed me to turn around my debt in 14 months. So I was able to pay close to $100,000 off in 14 months. Now, as I mentioned, my husband and I are real estate investors with over 12 properties. We invest in cryptocurrencies, stock market. We're business owners, and we get to travel and enjoy rejuvenation time. So that's what I like to do. And also I like to garden. But keep in mind, this all started with me understanding my financial picture. So we have to understand the information. Some of the scary financial facts: about 40% of adults said if they faced with a $400 unexpected expense, they would either not be able to pay it or would do so by selling something or borrowing money. That's in 2017. So $400. We have to have something in reserve for unexpected things, especially if you are going into real estate. You never know when an air conditioner is going to break down and you can't tell a tenant, well, you have to wait till I get money to fix it. They're not going to understand that, nor should they, because they're paying you rent. According to a recent Forbes article, 43% of student loan borrowers are not making payments. Now, we know that there's some deferral on student loans, and I know some people are like, okay, I'm going to wait until I figure out if we won't have to pay it back, but you may have to, so just plan for it. Roughly 80% of small business survive the first year. Only about half of small business survive past the 5-year mark. So if you have made it past 5 years in your business, you are the 50%. That's amazing. Again, we talk about one of the biggest problems is that small business owners and individuals, we do not understand wealth building.
Can you speak to what a successful small business looks like? Because just because I've survived 5 years, does that mean I'm healthy and I need to keep going? Or what do I need to look at in regard to my business that makes me a successful small business?
Well, I think success can be defined by each person. If you have constantly had losses over, say you've made it past 5 years and you've had just losses and you have not made a profit yet, I would really evaluate why. Like, really, we're going to talk about what numbers do you look at when you're looking at your financials, what things you may need to consider you need to cut back on. And then what does it mean to really look at your balance sheet? So are people, do they understand their balance sheet? Do they understand their income statement? I think if you don't understand those items, you're not able to really evaluate and say what's successful. Also, this is something that's in the course that I talk about, is developing your KPIs. So those are your indexes that you feel like you need in your business for it to be successful for you. So it may be, I want to bring home 4%. And it depends on each industry. Like in a course creator type industry or digital marketer industry, you need to have 30% profit. They're saying for really to look at it and for it to be profitable. So each industry is different. Like construction industry is lower than a professional service industry, because professional service is a lot of our time, is what is billed. Whereas construction, you have materials. So I think you really need to understand your industries and know what is profitable based on your industry standards.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. According to a recent Forbes article, 33% of American adults have zero saved for retirement. The Social Security scares me. I'm just like, is there going to be money when I retire? I don't know. So I want to make sure that I have wealth accumulation and I'm saving and I'm investing and I'm really looking at what I can do to grow my wealth and not really wanting to depend on Social Security to afford the lifestyle that I'd like when I retire. So what does your current wealth picture look like? Do you know your net worth off the top of your head? And you may not even know what net worth is. We're going to go over that, but you should know that off the top of your head about what you're worth. The next question is, do you know how much liquid assets you currently own? Also, let's talk about, are you covering your expenses with the income you are bringing in each month? So do you have more expenses than you have money at the end of each month? Do you know how much debt you owe? Put down your personal debt, what you have, and your business debt. These are numbers that you should know. I would like for you all to keep that in front of you, because when you're doing goal setting, you may have goals to reduce your debt. You may have goals that you have more income than you have expenses, or to reduce your expenses, but you have to start with the number. You have to know where you are in order to plan a path to where you're going. So I want you all to just keep those numbers in mind. Let's talk about your personal net worth, because maybe you have never done a net worth statement. Generally, the accounting equation from a business perspective, so if you're a business owner, you may know this, that your assets minus your liabilities equals your equity. So the assets that you have minus your liabilities will equal the equity or the value of your business. Well, on your personal net worth statement, we look at your assets. So I ask you, what were your liquid assets? And then we're also going to look at what other type of assets do you have? Minus your debt, like what do you owe? That's going to equal your net worth. So when I ask you about your net worth, this is the equation to figure out your net worth. This is very important. A lot of times if you're getting loans, if you are a business owner, they want to see your personal net worth too. Not only your business, they want to know your personal, because they want to make sure that if your business goes down, you can still afford and have resources to pay that business debt with your personal net worth. A lot of times they're still going to ask for a personal guarantee. So that's why it is important to understand this number and to have it in front of you and to work on increasing your net worth. So let's talk about some of the assets. When we look at assets, that's a part of that equation. You're going to look at your bank accounts, your investment accounts, your 401k, your house, so the value of your house as it is now, like how much equity you have in it. The stocks, your car, your rental properties, your antiques, high value clothing, electronics, collectibles, and a boat. So these are things that are your assets. We know what debt are. We know what debts are going to be included. So if you have any type of debt, so your car note, your house mortgage, if you have rental properties, what you owe on those, and then if you have any credit card debts, all of that is going to be in your debt. And then that's going to equal your net worth. So take a list and just put down all of your assets and their values. And then take another column and put your debt down. And then you'll have the difference is your net worth. So personal income statement, that's different from a net worth statement. Your income statement, as a business owner, you may be familiar with that. That's what you're bringing in, less your expenses for that certain period. Whereas net worth looks at, it's almost like your balance sheet for your business. Your personal net worth shows you what you have, your value, your net value with your assets less your debt, that's your net value. But the income statement, your personal income statement, shows what you're bringing in every month and what goes out every month. You also need to track that, because if more is going out than's coming in, then something needs to change. Either you need to reduce your expenses or bring in more income. So you need to keep track of both of those, your net worth and your monthly, quarterly, and annual income and expenses. That's a great way to also look at what's happening, so you can create a budget and prepare goals for your personal income statement. So now let's talk about the power of compound interest. When you look at compound interest, it really is important that you understand that the earlier you start, the more your interest will be able to compound.
I did have a question. You mentioned NerdWallet, but can you recommend any type of tangible tools, workbooks? I'm very hands-on and very visuals, that I could have things in front of me. And when you were talking about the columns, your assets and liabilities and so forth, that you can keep track of those things, and better stay on top of that. Do you have anything you could recommend as far as, it could be an app or anything?
Yes, there's a couple things that I would recommend as far as apps. For business owners, of course, you need an accounting software, and that would be QuickBooks. You could use Xero. Those are two that I would suggest. For tracking expenses, there's something, app called Expensify, and that could be on your phone. So that is a phone app. You take a picture of your expenses and you upload them, and you can categorize them as business or personal in the app. And it also syncs with QuickBooks. So that's why I like that one. There is, and I don't know if this one is still around, Miles IQ, Miles IQ. That is a mile tracking app. So when you get on in your car, it's running. And then when you get to your location, if it's business, you swipe a certain way, and then it tracks the business miles. So that's another app that I've found that has been very useful if you're doing a lot of business travel. I would search just net worth statement if you want to see, because there is a certain format on the net worth statement. But a lot of these things, like I'm talking about, is a part of the course that I have. It's a 6-week course, and I'll talk about that. But it gives a lot of other tools that you can utilize to help grow your wealth. All right. So another thing that I do like to talk about, because I am a tax strategist, is that taxes can be your friend. The IRS basically created the tax code to help business owners. I can't really help individuals as much unless they have real estate, they have some type of business on the side, or they have, a business where they are not working as a W-2 wage owner. The reason is your tax deductions are limited. The IRS code is not made for individuals who work and don't have any other type of, say, investments, or when we talked about these other streams of income, if you don't have those other streams of income, it's very hard to get any type of deduction. So I do want to put in tax is an important part, also because the tax rates are different. If your capital gains, as I mentioned, it's a lower tax rate than ordinary rate. So why did the IRS allow that? Well, because they want people to invest. Passive income, when I talked about how you get the phantom depreciation, why is that in place? Because they want people to invest in real estate. So when you start looking at the tax laws, you kind of understand, okay, they really want to benefit business owners. I don't know if anyone that was part of the COVID relief, if you received money, if you notice, it was for the business owners. You have employee retention credit. You could get up to $5,000 per employee in 2020. And in 2021, up to $7,000 per first quarter, second quarter, and third quarter. So that's a total of $26,000 that you can get because you had employees and you kept them through during COVID. You can also get the PPP. So just because you got the PPP doesn't mean you can't get the employee retention credit. So when you start to look at some of those things, you see that it's benefiting the business owners more so than a person that is working as a W-2. So that's why I do advocate for business ownership, or get a rental property or some type of other investment where you can deduct some business expenses.